Welcome in, everybody, and welcome back to Social Experience. We've been absent for a while, had some life things happen, health issues, but we're back. We're back this week for week 5, right? Week 5 in fantasy. Some ups and downs really through the first 4 weeks, right? You're either really on top or you're kind of really on the bottom. There's no really in between, and lots of injuries. Okay, this is one of those years that we're going to deal with a lot of injuries. It seems like. And to big names. Last week, Malik Neighbors, Tyreek Hill to be examples, right? We got Joe Burrow that's been out. We got these big names, fantasy players that could be hurting teams, but we'll get into that later on today. Tonight, what we are going to do is cover Thursday night's game and just recap that for a quick 5 minutes. And then we're going to get into who I would start and who I would sit. And we're going to go through each game and kind of see what the production level could be. And we're going to go from there. So happy to be back and back with you guys. So, boom, Thursday night. We'll get right into it. Thursday night, 49ers and Rams played a heck of a game. Went into overtime, which – as a fantasy manager, overtime is fantasy gold, right? Matthew Stafford really played up to his high potential with 3 touchdowns and almost 400 yards. Mac Jones was only started in 17% of leagues across the world, across America. So now this makes me think that it was Brock Purdy owners, right? It was kind of forced, but hey, luckily for them, he doubled his projection at 26 points. He did throw for almost 350 yards and 2 touchdowns, right? When you throw it 49 times, like I said, the opportunity share there is ridiculous, right? If he completes 5 more of those passes, he may be thinking about 30 points fantasy-wise. So, strong performance again in the running back rooms for each team. Kyron Williams was heavy in the receiving department. 8 for 10, 66 yards and 2 touchdowns in the air, and then 65 yards on the ground. Finished with a double projection. Very nice performance. CMC did beat his projection. He is projected a lot more than other running backs during the week, but he was projected at almost 25 points. He got 28. Carried the ball 22 times. Again, we talk about those opportunities, guys. 22 times getting the ball out of the backfield, plus another 9 opportunities through the air. It's quite nice, right? Especially when you're down your quarterback, your tight end, and another wide receiver seems to just step in and get the job done. 57 yards on the ground, not a great day on the ground, but through the air, very solid. 8 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. As for the wide receivers, right? Kendrick Bourne, if you were a part of that 17% that started him, congratulations. Now, was it a out of this world start? I don't think so, because you had Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk is still out, Kittle's out. I mean, it was literally Kendrick Bourne and CMC all night long. Now, again, I bleed it till it's dry. The opportunities that Kendrick Bourne had there made what the fantasy week that he had made it so good. Kendrick Bourne, 10 receptions, 11 targets for 142 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, but 24 points for a start that you just threw in there and was like, I'll risk it. That's a boom. That's a boom week for Kendrick Bourne. Outside of that, really nothing, guys. On the Rams side, let's talk about Puka Nacua for a minute. Is Puka Nacua going to be the best fantasy wide receiver this year? God, I hope. I have him in a few leagues. However, we're talking about now Chase is without Burrow. Justin Jefferson, we didn't know what he was going to do with J.J. McCarthy, but J. McCarthy's been out. So that's hard to tell. A.J. Brown, well, non-existent in the fantasy world this year so far. That's due to the offense changing and becoming more run first than it was last year. I think that Puka Nacua really does have the best situation and the best quarterback relationship to be the best fantasy wide receiver. He's on pace to beat Calvin Johnson's record right now. Okay, do I see that pace stopping? Well, let's look at the last 5 weeks. Wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 1, and wide receiver 1. Back-to-back weeks of potential wide receiver 1s. Now, this week he's already played, so he's obviously wide receiver 1 so far. Do I think that 24 points will hold wide receiver 1? No, I don't. I think there will be a performance. Kendrick Bourne almost beat him, right? But Puka Nacua, again, he's not leaving my lineup until he has a bye week, right? 10 for 12, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Now, you go back to it, and, Stafford was letting it loose, guys. Devontae Adams had 11 targets, 5 receptions on 88 yards. Tutu Atwell had 72 yards. Jordan Whittington had 3 targets for 33 yards. He spreads the ball around, but obviously the two main guys here, Nacua and Adams. Tight end room, not really much happening in the Rams department, right? But for the San Francisco 49ers, Jake Tunges, 7 for 11, 7 for 11, 41 yards and a touchdown. So not a lot of long catches, right? Not a lot of yards after the catch, but 7 catches on 11 targets. Well, that's 7 points. That's nice. And then you get 41 and a touchdown, right? Turned into 17.1 points per game. For that week. Kickers, really. What's his name? Yeah, Eddie Pinheiro. Blew out Cardi. Cardi missed 1. He's had a rough few weeks. He has did not miss last week, but went 4 for 6 the week before and missed again this week. Right now, he is kicker 11. Pinheiro has had a strong performance since being back with San Francisco. Okay. 17.7 this week, 4 field goals. Phenomenal performance. 49ers defense had a block kick, a sack, and the Rams just had a sack. So, go back to it. It was a good game. I think the Rams made a bonehead decision at the end of that game, giving it back to Kyrie Williams, who just got done fumbling it on the one. You do have the best wide receiver duo in football. And you have a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion. Use it. It just is what it is. But, Sean McVay came out and said that he's taken ownership, that he put his team in a shitty situation, and that things will be adjusted. So, at that point, at least you go for the tie. I think that, the loss hurts you more than the tie, but I understand going for the win there too. So, but right now we're going to get into Sunday's games. We're going to preview a little bit. International game this weekend in London, 8:30 on Sunday. Make sure your lineups are set prior to. Dylan Gabriel gets his first start. Am I starting him? No. I'm avoiding Carson Wentz against Cleveland's defense. I'm also avoiding Jordan Mason against Cleveland's defense. I start JJ just because of the name. Do I think if Carson Wentz gets, I think he gets like 180 yards and a touchdown and 2 picks. Like, I just don't think it's 16-point worthy from Carson Wentz. Now, where do I think most of those go? Well, hopefully JJ, but you also have Jordan Addison back in the mix. You also have TJ Hawkinson. Okay. I'm not so sure if if there's a better option, I might be sitting JJ Jefferson this week. Justin Jefferson. TJ Hawkinson, not really worried about it. There's better options this week. However, I might and very well could start the Minnesota Vikings defense. Great defense to start, period. Strong defense. But first start for Dylan Gabriel might be fantasy gold. Junkins, I probably at 14 points. I think he's a low end running back one. Okay, I think he looks to continue his red hot start to the season. He has now rushed for at least 82 yards and a touchdown in 2 straight games. This really became the centerpiece of the Cleveland offense. Okay. His heavy volume role makes it for me to start him against because if Dylan Gabriel can't get it going, well, it's going to be Quinshon Junkins. I'm not starting any Cleveland wide receivers yet until I see what I can get from Dylan Gabriel. I might start Harold Fanning Jr. I think that would be Dylan Gabriel's go-to guy if I had to pick one. Okay. Browns defense, I'm starting the Browns defense throughout the entire season. I know they're bad on offense, but defensively they are strong. Very strong. Then we're going to get to the noon games here. We got Houston versus Baltimore. We got no Lamar Jackson. Am I starting Cooper Rush? Heck no. Am I starting Derrick Henry? Absolutely, because of the opportunities that are about to come his way. I might even start Justice Hill this week because that Baltimore backfield I feel like is going to be busy. Flowers, am I starting him? If there's a better option, no. I'm avoiding DeAndre Hopkins. I'm avoiding Rashad Bateman because you're not so sure what you're going to get out of Cooper Rush in this offense. Yes, we have seen Cooper Rush in a Dallas uniform behind a great O-line with CeeDee Lamb, and he doesn't have that in Baltimore. He has a backfield, a very strong backfield, but let's not start comparing the current talent of DeAndre Hopkins, Rashad Bateman to none of them are really close to CeeDee Lamb, right? Mark Andrews, Jake Ferguson, that might be a conversation currently. But regardless, as Cooper Rush went from a scheme fit that really fit him in Dallas to now where the quarterback might have to move a little bit. And that doesn't seem like very Cooper Rush-esque. So, Mark Andrews could be a solid start this week. I could see Cooper Andrews. On the Houston side of things, okay, Baltimore's got a strong defense, guys. I'm not so sure, I am picking Baltimore in this game, whether Cooper Rush is starting or not. CJ Stroud at 14 points, that's all I would expect. I would not expect him to have a big boom week. But 14-point projection, that's solid. Woody Marks. I am starting Woody Marks in a couple different leagues this week. He is now emerging as every week starter, guys. He looks to further establish himself as a regular fantasy option to really count on in this week's favorable matchup against the Ravens. The Ravens have struggled against the run. They lost to the IR for the season on issue. Marks really stepped into the larger role with his snap share climbing to 56% in week 4, and he delivered with 69 rushing and while a touchdown on 17 carries, while adding the second touchdown through 4 catches in the air. Okay, he has the potential to emerge as the number 1 option in the backfield ahead of Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb's third down abilities keep him both a high ceiling and high floor. Okay. I think that Marks is having a solid, startable flex play this week. I think you ride the dice. But I am sitting Nick Chubb. Nico Collins, I think would be a solid start, along with maybe Christian Kirk. But I'm avoiding Kirk, and I would only start Nico this week. Okay? Tight end wise, Dalton Schultz, there's better options. And the Houston Texans defense might be intriguing. I like their defensive line against Cooper Rush. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson could have a great day. Going into Miami and Carolina. God, who am I starting in this game? Devonta Chan, I like against Carolina. I'm not sure that I'm starting Jalen Waddle, even with Tyreek being down. No disrespect to Jalen Waddle, but he's not Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's not as quick. He's not, his route running is not as sharp. He may not have the best connection with Tua like Tyreek did. You know what I mean? Like there's so many variables I have to see to believe for Jalen Waddle, right? Malik Washington could be an interesting flex play in deeper leagues. Had seen some targets last week, scored 13.7. Had two receptions for 13 yards. However, a week before that, 3 receptions. Week before that, had a special players, a punt return, and a catch out of the backfield. So he's been involved in the offense, is what my point is. Now that Tyreek Hill has gone down for the year, he's going to have to be involved. So you want familiarity with the offense, Malik Washington is your guy. Darren Waller, I think, is the guy that is going to benefit from Tyreek Hill being down. Great talent, one of the best talents when he's on the field. Being on the field has been a problem. But while he's on the field, I'm trusting Darren Waller. On the Carolina side, Rico Dottle could be an interesting play for you Chubba Hubbard owners. Ted McMillan, look, he's been okay. He's at least seen 8 targets in each game. Now his most catches came from 6 when he had 10 targets against Arizona. Miami has a decent pass defense, guys. I'm not sure that I'm trusting Bryce Young, right? He's also giving Renfrow targets. He's giving Leggett. Leggett missed last week, but he'll be back this week. 2-game absence, yes, but before his 2-game absence, 7 targets and 8 targets, which again, take away from Ted. Okay. I'm not so sure if I were to start anybody out of Carolina, it would probably be Dottle and Ted. And yeah, I'm gonna avoid that game completely on bets when I do my betting tonight. I'm gonna tell you that now. That was a rough one. Next game, Raiders Colts. Geno Smith, I'm sitting this week. I'm actually starting Daniel Jones over him. Geno Smith has been an interception machine, and I don't see that changing against Indianapolis. So if you have Geno Smith starting, I would try to find a different starting option. Daniel Jones is quarterback 8 throughout the year. He did have a tough week 4. But I think he's going to bounce back against a subpar defense outside of Max Crosby on the Raiders. Genti, I think, continues the hot streak. He's emerging as the offensive focal point. He racks up 155 total yards and three touchdowns last week against the Bears. Remarkably, that single game yardage output surpassed his combined production from the first 3 games as a rookie back. So this is why I think it's a potential turning point for him. With quarterback Geno Smith struggling to protect the football, the Raiders are expected to emphasize Genty in both the ground game and short game passing attack heading into week 5 against the Colts. Okay, Indianapolis does boast the 9th ranked run defense in a disruptive unit that sits 4th in the league in turnover percentage. Okay, but in my opinion, Genty's dual threat skill set gives him a reliable path to volume and scoring opportunities. Okay, fantasy managers should view Genty as a strong running back 1 moving forward with a chance to become a centerpiece around the Raiders offense. So basically, I am starting him until proven otherwise. Taylor, must start. He's running back 3 on the year, guys. Must start. Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is actually wide receiver 31. Hasn't had a great week since week 1 and 2, but could potentially have one. Again, I blame those struggles kind of on Geno Smith more than I do Jacoby Myers. Now, are we trusting the Trey Tucker train? Had an unincredible game in week 3. Scored 3 touchdowns in that matchup, but was not able to follow that up in week 4. He was held to just 2 catches over the course of the entire game, which burned any fantasy manager who really dared to start him after his explosion week last week. You're looking at it. I lost Jaden Daniels, and I didn't want to drop a player to pick up another quarterback. So I went the boom bust way, and I started Trey Tucker in my Superflex. It didn't work out. I still got the W, pending other player performances. But, yeah, I was one of those people. Now, in my opinion, he should not be a week-to-week starter in most leagues for the time being, but it's something to definitely pay attention to in case Geno Smith catches fire. In the Colts room here, Pittman seems to be the guy for Daniel Jones. 10 targets last week, touchdown in 3 out of the 4 last weeks. Josh Downs just has not been he's not been targeted 3 out of the 4 weeks, and then really just had 1 solid week. We got a Danya Mitchell who's kind of eating into that. Last week had 96 yards. I would start Pittman. I think it's going to be, Josh Downs is a questionable start for me, but potentially could be a boom week for him against a tough or rough Las Vegas Raiders defense. Pass defense, I guess I should say. Bowers had an off week last week. Week 1 was tight end 2. Kind of seen that production kind of drop off a little bit, 14, 13, 20. But again, the targets are there. I'm blaming Geno Smith. He's got to figure it out. Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren has been phenomenal. Tight end 5 on the year. Man. He almost fell to me in a rookie draft this year, and I really wish he would have. Ran for a touchdown last week while catching 5 catches for 70 yards. The guy just reminds me of Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill when he was young. He's the ultimate gadget player, and I would trust him in all fantasy lineups. This week, I might be starting the Colts defense. Colts defense, again, Geno Smith has struggled. As long as they can keep Genty boxed. I think they'll be fine. I think that's a W. All right, speed this up a little bit. Giants, Saints. Jackson Dart's first start. How did it go? Quarterback 11. That's how it went. Pretty solid. 111 yards and a touchdown. Also ran for 54 yards and a touchdown. Now he gets to play. Now it's against a tough Charger defense. Now he gets to play the down bad New Orleans Saints, who, again, I said we're going to be the worst team in the NFL next to Miami. And looks like I'm quite right about both. Spencer Rattler, am I starting him? Absolutely not. Giants defense is going to have a heyday, in my opinion, against that offensive line. Kamara, Keandre Miller. Keandre Miller actually had a great week last week. Saw 11 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. Something to pay attention to with Kamara owners, Kamara usage. Kamara last week, 4 catches for only 2 yards. 70 yards on the ground. Keandre had actually a better week than Kamara did last week fantasy-wise. So, again, just something to pay attention to, guys. Scatterbo, again, Scatterbo is not coming out of my lineup until otherwise. 25 attempts. He is the lead back now, guys. 25 attempts and the ground for Scatterbo. 79 yards, yes. But the opportunity is there, guys. Again, tough Charger defense. This week he goes against an easy matchup against New Orleans. I am starting Dart and Scatterbo. Now, as for the wide receiver room, with Malik Neighbors out, who is going to be the guy? Wan'Dale Robinson is an option. But there's a name I want you to pay attention to, and if you have not picked him up, it needs to be done. Darius Slayton. Okay, Darius Slayton, again, last year. If you go back last year, look at his stats. He had a couple really good games, guys. Wide receiver 7 at one point. I do like Darius Slayton. He has played a lot of snaps this year. He's familiar with the offense. Really had his breakout year in 2023, but I think he is going to be the guy for Jackson Dart. Chris Olave, still getting the targets in New Orleans, 13, 10, and 14 in the first 3 weeks, but only saw 6 targets against a tough Buffalo defense last week. So, do we see that continuing against the Giants? It's got to go to somebody, right? It's got to go to somebody, and that's what we're kind of seeing here is it's got to go to somebody because Rashid Shaheed, he's not getting as many targets as I figured he would. Kamara's seeing about 4 or 5 a game, but even Keandre Miller is somewhat involved in the receiving game, not quite a bit, though. Not a lot. Theo Johnson. Okay, can Theo Johnson benefit from Malik Neighbors being out? He should be a waiver wire consideration. As last week saw 5 targets, 3 catches and a touchdown. He's a nice red zone target. Something to pay attention to for sure. Juwan Johnson, number 8 tight end on the year, listed as questionable for week 5. Do I think he plays? Absolutely. The Saints also designate Taysom Hill to return from the PUP list, giving him a suit-up time for the first time in week 5. Johnson has operated as the full-time tight end for New Orleans over the first month of the season, and he has been quite productive with his opportunity, hauling in 22 of 31 targets for a team-leading 204 and a touchdown. So he leads the team in yards. He'll rank as a firm tight end 1 in rank 5, week 5 if he can go. against again, the ball's got to go somewhere, guys. Dallas Jets. Let's talk about it. Dak Prescott. I'm starting. Guys, he's quarterback 11 right now. He just had a quarterback 1 performance and a quarterback 5 performance this year. If he's averaging 40 attempts a game. Okay? He's averaging about 240 yards. Well, probably actually more than that. About 275. 3 touchdowns last week. Has had touchdown in 3 straight weeks. Yes, it is the Jets defense. I think him and Pickens have a day. I think Javonte Williams continues his hot streak in the touchdown realm. Watch out for Jadon Blue, guys. Watch out for Jadon Blue. Miles Sanders is officially questionable for Week 5. They are talking about Jadon Blue making his NFL debut. Jadon Blue might boggle some eyes here, man. Guys coming out of Texas. Could be a strong performance. George Pickens, I'm starting. There's no question about that, just because that's who else is Dak supposed to go to. Jake Ferguson, same thing. If you look at his targets, guys, 6, 12, 14, 7. The guy's not going anywhere. Jake Ferguson is a target machine for Dak Prescott this year. Brandon Aubrey obviously must start. Mason Taylor looking like he's going to be the lead guy out in New York for the tight end room. Garrett Wilson, probably the only wide receiver that I'm starting. Breece Hall and Isaiah Davis, guys. Pay attention to Isaiah Davis. Breece Hall is expected to miss 8 to 12 weeks the last time that I checked. And Isaiah Davis could see a big-time role, especially if Breece Hall is on a trade candidate list. I don't see that happening with Braylon Allen hurt, but Breece Hall could be on the move, guys. Now, Broncos, Eagles. Who I am starting, I'm not starting Cortland Sutton because he'll be matched up against Quinyon Mitchell. Troy Franklin actually might be an intriguing start. Marvin Mims might be an intriguing start. Evan Ingram, I'm sitting. Broncos D. And it's not me being biased. Sorry about the cat. It's not me being biased. It's the Broncos offense has not looked promising the last few weeks. And the Eagles defense has looked especially in the second half, quite promising. Jalen Hurts, 20 points. He's quarterback 6. A tough Broncos defense. I think he meets projection. I think both quarterbacks meet projections. Dobbins and Harvey. I'm sitting Harvey. I'll start Dobbins just because of the opportunities. Barkley, obviously, I'm starting. A.J. Brown is going to be interesting. Now, something I want everybody to pay attention to. Everybody's dogging A.J. Brown for not being fantasy relevant. Okay? In week 1, that was fair. 1 target, 1 reception. Since then, he's had 8 targets, 10 targets, and 9 targets. It's not that he's not involved, guys. It's not that he's not involved at all. He's just not. He's running these 5-yard curl routes, and this new offensive coordinator is destroying it. I mean, that's what happens when you get a new offensive coordinator. Somebody has to hurt. And unfortunately, it was his wide receiver room. Same with Devontae Smith. I'm not sure that I'm starting him. We had a strong week against the Rams. Otherwise than that, man, I mean, he really hasn't even seen more than 6 targets. Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert, I am starting. Great performance last week. 4 catches on 2 touchdowns. 7 for 7 week 1. Missed the Kansas City game, but I think that he's turning into one of Jalen Hurts' favorite targets. Titans, Cardinals. I'm sitting Cam Ward. I'm avoiding a lot of people in this game. Cam Ward, I'm sitting. Kyler, I'm sitting. Pollard, I might start just because of opportunity. No Tajay Spears. Arizona running back room, unless you have to, avoid it until we know who the clear winner is. DeMarcado, I think, is going to be the receiving back. Michael Carter, I think, is going to be the 3-down back guy. Calvin Ridley, Alamore, I just don't trust, especially with Cam Ward. Marvin Harrison kind of bounced back last game with a wide receiver 14 performance. We'll see how this week goes, but I need to see more. Trey McBride, I'm starting. Trey McBride is tight end 3 and has had great production so far. Bucks, Seahawks. Mayfield, I'm starting. Darnold, I'm not. Kenneth Walker, I'll start. And Charbonnet. Rashad White. In the absence of Bucky Irving, I am definitely starting with Rashad White. 16 points. Bigger role on tap with Irving out. Sean Tucker will eat a little bit into it, but I think that Rashad White is the guy. Okay? And Mbuka, I'm starting. JSN, I'm starting. AJ Barner, sleeper. Pay attention to that. And I'm not starting Kate Otten. All right, guys, we got a few more games to talk about here. We're going to run through them. Lions, Bengals. Start every single Lions player you can. Let me just tell you that. Golf, Gibbs. I'd even start Monty this week. Amon-Ra. Now, with this type of game, you have to understand that there is the potential of your players being sat, say, like the third quarter, because it's going to be 38-0. Okay? That's why you start David Montgomery, who's going to see the carries after that. I'm starting the Lions defense. Is there anybody on the Browns or on the Bengals that I would start outside of Jamar Chase? Maybe Chase Brown in the hopes that he turns it around. But I think that's just me being an owner. Commanders, Chargers, Daniels is back. He's got possibly no Deebo Samuel. But it looks like he's going to start. But no Terry McLaurin for sure. Ertz is back. Keith Merritt and Chris Rodriguez still split. I'm starting Daniels this week. Deebo is actually an intriguing start without Terry McLaurin if he plays. And then Zach Ertz would be a starting tight end for me this week. On the Chargers side of that, Herbert, I'm starting. Hampton, I'm starting. And it's crazy to say this, but Quentin Johnson is now projected more points than Ladd McConkey. And that's just scary. Keenan Allen, I'm starting. He is wide receiver 10. Guys, he is wide receiver 10. Quentin Johnson is wide receiver 4. He's moved his way into startable, guys. I'm going to be real honest about it. I think they're all 3 startable at this point. Herbert is just letting it loose. No tight end room. I wouldn't start any tight ends, but those 3 wide receivers in Hampton, absolutely. Sunday Night Football, we get into the Patriots and the Bills. Josh Allen, I'm starting. Drake May, I'm starting. What people don't realize is Drake May is a top 5 quarterback in fantasy right now. He's had some great weeks. The last 3 weeks has been quarterback 3, quarterback 7, and quarterback 8. Trayvon Henderson, am I starting him? He's starting to really lack reliability. Okay. He's not yet emerged as the team's lead back, and therefore he's tough to trust as a fantasy starter heading into week 5. Henderson is the future back in New England, but through the first 4 games of his career, the back has really belonged to Ramondre Stevenson. During that span, Henderson has a modest 36% snap share. He's averaged just 3.7 yards per carry, but still works his way onto the field thanks to his draft capital, pass blocking skills, and, well, Stevenson's fumbling issues. Okay. Stevenson could be an interesting pickup, but we'll see. I think that's a situation to pay attention to. Henderson, Stevenson, we're not sure, right? Diggs. Diggs, I think, has a great day. Again, it's his return to Buffalo. Hunter Henry, tight end 4. Tight end 1 in week 3. Tight end 10 in week 4. Otherwise than that really good week against Pittsburgh, guys, I'm not so sure that I trust him. I mean, I just don't. Low scoring tight end week last week made him tight end 10. He's had one really good week. I just have to see more. James Cook must start. Never taken him out of my lineup this year. What a stud. Running back 2. Tough run defense against Patriots. Don't care. I'm starting Keon Coleman. Khalil Shakir's had slightly a better year than Coleman. But I think Coleman will have a better matchup against the Patriots. Dalton Kincaid this week. Tight end 7 has had a couple good weeks. This week I would start. Dalton Kincaid. For sure. Tough division matchup. I would start him. Then we get into Monday night's game. Chiefs and Jags. I'm starting Patrick Mahomes. I'm avoiding really Kansas City's running back room. I'm confused with what's going on there. Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, I don't really know. I'm starting Xavier Worthy, starting Hollywood Brown. I might even start Travis Kelce this week. I think against the Jags, I think that he'll be a high-octane offense or high-octane target. Lawrence, I'm actually going to sit this week. ETN, I would start. With Travis Hunter and his snap count, the Jacksonville Jaguars and Travis Hunter's snaps on both sides of the ball will likely remain fluid on a week-to-week basis moving forward. When asked about how the team decided on Hunter's usage in the Week 4 win against the 49ers, head coach Liam Cohen said it was a decision we all made together. Wanted to give some guys some opportunities given what we felt their game plan was going to be, and it ended up becoming more of a passing game. Cohen added that Hunter's snap count in Week 5 on Monday night will be determined as we go. Hunter played 64% of the offensive snaps in the season opener, which has been his highest number through the 4 weeks. He played 56% on Sunday and caught 3 of 5 targets for a season-high 42 yards. It's hard to imagine Hunter's snaps on offense drastically increasing anytime soon, which makes him a flex play at best, right? Brenton Strange, I just haven't really trusted. He had one decent week at tight end 7, and that was 12 points. But yeah. So if anybody would like, I've actually opened a forum on my TikTok that has allowed to, it's like a chat room to where stardom situms. You can message me anytime with stardom situms, and I will get you a response as quickly as possible. Okay. We're obviously thankful for our sponsors, which is the Diamond Collection and the Mobile Brand, as well as powered by Sports Lounge Media. Go check them out, guys. Big things happening over there again. YouTube is a big thing for them. Go subscribe. Big things coming. We are going to Vegas this next weekend for a lot of meetings and a lot of things changing in the Sports Lounge media world. So stay tuned, and we will get those announcements to you as soon as we can. So again, guys, I appreciate everybody tuning in today. It's been a great one. Looking forward to more football, and we can see you Tuesday. Have a good one, guys.